I think I used it all up on the last take. I was practicing it, and I think I did the actual version. All right. Here we go. We missing sufficiently missed. I already am self-conscious, so. Looks like we made it. Look how far we come, my baby.
Hello, welcome to you. I got some bullet points. I don't know about this angle, but I kind of like the framing with the paintings. Jesus Church America. What if you could only choose one? I've been meaning to record this monologue since yesterday, and I'm very good at avoiding it. Here, look, I'll show you. There it is. There it is. See that? Not that I haven't done anything of value, but it's more like I have just found other things to do. I'm not sure about this angle. The other angle might be better. Maybe I should be wearing my hoodie. Would that make me look more artistic to wear my hoodie? I just think like this is supposed to be my better angle than this. All right. It seems to me this is what has become apparent in the last few weeks as I'm pursuing my objective of being a full-time musician, being an independent musician who derives 100% of my income. And then I get midway through that sentence, and already I'm like, but why? So if you're Justin Bieber, and you've got a collaboration with, let's say, Tim Hortons, you might call it Tim Biebs. Do we have to take that into consideration when we're like, okay, Justin Bieber, is he really a professional musician though? Is he? Really? Is this a better angle? I kind of feel like it is. I don't know though. Is it better? Maybe it's not. Really, as a musician, and musicians will know, it's like, where do you put your music stand? And the answer is you put it where you don't have to like look out of your way in order to play your instrument. So you want to put it, if you've got an instrument in front of you and sheet music and there's a conductor, you want to have those things visually in alignment so that you can play, look, and look up there. And it's just like a quick little movement of the eyes or the head to shift your field of vision between all three. All right. So the question is, but then I don't want this to fall into the sink. So maybe I'll put this right here. The question. So what if the question, folks, what if the question isn't, can I do it? What if the question is, do I want to live like this? That's where we're at. As I've been thinking about my goal and looking at my finances, I've discovered that I am already making most of my income from music. Most of it is teaching. I gig, I get paid for gigs, but those are little lump sums when I play a show. My consistent income is from teaching. I have a private lesson practice that I do. I got a bunch of students doing that. All piano and guitar. I don't have a single drum student at the moment, although drums are, if we want to look strictly at qualifications, I went to drum school to learn to be a drummer. Anyway, I'm teaching piano and guitar, not because anyone cares about my qualifications, but because I can do the job. My business is all word of mouth. People have reached out to me. And then I teach sometimes in a school, substitute teach. And I got a call this morning to go substitute teach music at an elementary school. And I've been there before. And the principal reached out to me because they know that I can get the job done. And more importantly, with a lot of these places, they just need somebody. Like, hopefully you're good, but they just need somebody. So anyway, in the past, I would have looked at that kind of employment as not legitimate. Like I would have been, and especially, I was saying this to my wife, I can see why, because when I started out, I started teaching by accident. I had moved to Halifax to like be in a band. This is 1 year out of school. And I moved there to join a band, but I didn't have a job. I wasn't making money, full-time income from the band, but my friends were working at a spot that became Long McQuaid. Long McQuaid, Canada's national music retail chain, bought out a bunch of the independents in the Maritimes around that time. This is 20 years ago. And that's who I ended up working for, teaching lessons. But I got this job because my friends, my bandmates worked there and they had gotten gigs there. And they're like, you should apply. And I actually got hired to replace, this is pre Long and McQuaid. So no drama there. I got hired to replace my friend Doug, who was going on tour with his band that also featured a cast member of Trailer Park Boys. True story. And he was going to be away for like a month or two, and so they just behind his back hired me to replace him. I went to see him play at Sam the Record Man, and I said to him, "Hey, Doug, I guess I got your old job." He goes, "What?" Anyhow, so I went from never having taught before to having 35 probably when I started out, up to 50 students a week. I thought I was going to get fired. I thought for sure I'm an imposter. They are going to get a knock on the door from the university, find out that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm unqualified. And anyway, I ended up working there for on and off for like 12 years. And I eventually discovered that my real job there was not to turn the kids into great drummers like I originally thought. Having come out of a university program and just feeling like I was never good enough, never working hard enough. I would never be good enough to play this complicated music that was the only legitimate music called jazz. And I thought I was going to get fired because of that. And I eventually learned your job, what you get paid for as a independent subcontractor, private lesson instructor, is you get paid to make sure people coming back to their, you get paid to make sure people don't quit. You get paid when someone takes a lesson. You don't get paid when you're not teaching. Therefore, your biggest job is customer retention if you're looking at it monetarily. I get paid when I teach. If a person quits, I no longer get paid for that lesson. You got to find a different customer to replace them, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, there is no financial incentive for my students to progress ever, other than it being rewarding for them. If you come to lessons for 5 years and you never improve, if money is my only criteria, I have done my job successfully because you didn't quit. If I'm a con artist and I just convince you to keep spending your money, even though you're not benefiting, I mean, I'm still a success by that metric. All right. So, as I've been thinking about this, because I said this kind of in jest a couple of weeks ago, but it's true. I'm already making the majority as defined as 51% or more of my income from doing music work, teaching lessons, substitute teaching at school. In the past, like I was saying, I saw that as the thing that got in the way. Here's what I was trying to remember. With my band, we were all teaching lessons, and we would teach in the afternoons because when you teach lessons, you teach after school. And we would have band practice in the morning, which is unusual, except if you're a musician with my kind of schedule, in which case it's normal. It can make it hard to keep bands going with people who don't do this full time because your available hours are generally opposite. If you work a 9 to 5, you can't rehearse during the day, but those are the best rehearsal times for me. So we would go to band practice in the morning, and then we would have to put our instruments away and go to our jobs. And it always felt like, can't wait till the day that I get to quit this job and the band is our job and that's all we have to do. And on top of that, we weren't paying ourselves with the band. everything we made, all the money we made, got reinvested into the project, which on the one hand is like good, I guess, to do. I mean, it's you're able to fund your own things, like your projects get funded that way. But on the flip side, it can put you into this mindset that you will never make money at this. You yourself do not get paid for doing this. That's not part of this financial picture. And then you actually will prevent yourself from you will prevent yourself from doing the things that you would need to do to actually get paid. Does that make sense? Like, here's what I've been thinking about. As I've been thinking about booking gigs, because the real test for me is going to be July, August. I am making enough to cover my expenses right now between my lessons, my occasional gigs, and my part-time admin work. And I set my own hours. I'm able to turn down work. I'm washing dishes at home right now. Instead of teaching at an elementary school, I shoveled my driveway earlier. There are benefits to me being home. I dropped my kids off at daycare today, and they were late because we had a emergency in the middle of the night and everybody's sleep got interrupted, and then everybody had a hard time waking up. And I was able to get them there after 10 a.m. That wasn't a big deal. Then I shoveled the driveway. I wrote this script. I'm doing this now. I got to go teach lessons in a bit. But there is a tangible, and my wife's at work all day. So there is a tangible benefit there. But I am just covering my costs. I'm not making as much as a normal adult my age. And with this setup, all of the upside for me, if I'm going to make more money, it's going to come from my independent ventures where you're trading on your name, and the way to get paid more is to increase demand. Now, Bob Lefsetz, who I have referenced before, and I posted a quote from one of his newsletters last week. He talks about perseverance and all the things like if you want to have a home and get married and have kids, you don't have the time or the ability to barely survive. In the same paragraph, which maybe I'll find it, he also talks about how if you're not going crazy, beating your head on the wall against the wall, wondering why it's not working, or what you need, you're probably doing it wrong. Like that kind of failure, that level of frustration is just a part of it. So that's good to hear because that was the very first thing I did when I started making this series. But I need to fill it out with gigs. And, in the same newsletter, he says, there are lots of people who only quit their day jobs after they got a gold record. You think of like examples of like Bill Withers worked at an airplane toilet seat factory while he was working professionally. A little closer to home, I read an interview with Molly Rankin from Always, who said that she had finally quit her day job serving, which was like part-time between tours. But after the third album, they have been nominated for the Polaris Prize. They played Glastonbury. They've, opened for all kinds of namer indie bands and done a ton of touring. Are critically acclaimed, blah, 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 blah. Co-headlined Budweiser stage where I saw Neil Young in Toronto. What is happening to my screen here? Okay, we're still recording. I'm going to have to try and cut this short, keep it short. Although, as I said to my wife earlier, regarding my own brain, like this is what I'm dealing with. So as I'm trying to navigate this, the world, there's also this. Anyway, so where are we at? I got steady work until the end of June, basically. My deadline is August 1st. July is going to have to be a lot more gigging to make money. And right, this is what I was getting at. When you start out, it really is about acceptance and playing especially if you're doing original music, playing shows is about getting your art out there, being appreciated, validation. It's not about making money, so you don't see it as a real job. You don't see it as a job where you get paid. And that's fine. I think that is, perhaps what it should be. Rick Rubin has said in his book, The Creative Act, which was like a big deal, last year, that it may be more pure to have a day job and make art because then you're not relying on your art to fund your lifestyle. Elizabeth Gilbert says this in Big Magic, her book about creativity. And there's some blowing snow outside. And so the question, like, it has kind of, I've come to the point where it's like I almost have to figure out what my actual values are because, you put all of your hopes and dreams on this idea of making it that someone came up with. And a lot of the reference points that I grew up with are just gone or not relevant. Like, if you want to sell a bunch of CDs, be on Much Music, be in magazines, play in the Warp Tour. I guess the Warp Tour is still happening. I genuinely thought it wasn't. A lot of that stuff is less relevant. But so for me, it is going to be a question of what does that look like? Because if you want to get paid for gigs and if you want to play regularly, the way to do that is by playing cover gigs where you are just there. There's a flat rate that you get paid, usually at these venues, and you're kind of background music. You're expected to play stuff the audience will know. That's good practice. It's a way to get paid doing music. I'm certainly not above it. I'm going to have to do some of it. But it's the opposite business strategy that you need for doing original music, which is you got to build up a following locally, but you can't overplay your local market. Every show needs to be an event. You promote it heavily. You bring people out. And then the way that you make money is off of ticket sales and merch sales. So the more popular you are, the more money you make. And if you're not popular, if you don't bring out a lot of people, you make nothing or very little, like less than $100, in a lot of cases less than $50 for going out and doing your thing. But it's your art project, so whatever. Um, but if you think about that, it's recommended to play no more than every 6 to 12 weeks in your local market. So if I can play a hometown show every month and a half to 3 months, and I might not get paid anything for it, is trying to do only that as my source of income really viable? Is that what I should even be trying to do? And I also, to me, it's like it's not really the mission of the Sunnyside Uppers to give me a job. That's not what the art is about. It's not what the project is about. It's not what the work is about. If anything, that's a distraction. At the same time, you can get pigeonholed as a cover guy or typecast or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it. They're different venues, they're different styles of performance. The problem with that is that you don't build an audience. I did a bunch of it when I wanted to start getting out and singing and playing guitar because I wanted to develop my skills without needing to bring a bunch of my friends out. I just wanted low pressure, kind of I'm playing in the background, ways to practice performing in public. So I did busking, I did open mics, I did cover gigs. But because you can play multiple nights a week in town, your shows are maybe less exciting. The fact that you're playing is not exciting. And you don't want to dilute your draw for your like marquee shows, your showcase shows, by doing these money gigs especially if they're just a building block. So I'm going to have to figure out what that looks like, and that's going to be July. Um, but also, like I was saying last week or 2 weeks ago, last week, like I just want to game my own system. So I don't want this restriction. The thing I'm pursuing here really is um, freedom to create my own path, pursue my own path. So far, it's working. So far, I've achieved that. So the question, now that we have answered the question of survival, the question is going to be, is this how I want to live? Having achieved survival and also not having it depend on the popularity of any original music that I make, that means that I am free to do what excites me creatively. And it also means I'm winding down the clock on what I can achieve there. Because the other question, when I originally conceived of doing this for a year, was like, I know it's going to be a challenge for me to be out gigging. I want to see what that pressure actually feels like before either committing to that path or deciding that that path is too difficult. Like, I want to know if it actually is too hard. I don't want you to tell me. Um, all right. And I still have that to-do list from the start of the summer. So I've got plans to finish some stuff. I will show you one of those next week. And I also have to get out playing. And I've got at least one tip on a new venue. But I got to start booking stuff because I can't go out and play a show tomorrow. I got to see how soon I can get into these places and figure out the logistics. But I also need to be ready to play. So there's that word practice again. I got to get out and practice my set, my material. How soon can I do that? Let's see.